In September of last year, one of the most well-known pastors in Los Angeles quietly stepped back from his pulpit. The announcement used the word sabbatical. 4 to 6 months, church leadership said, a time of rest and well-being. 5 months later, it became permanent. Matthew Barnett, who led Angelus Temple for 25 years, will not be returning. And this week, we're going to look at what actually happened. What the denomination said, what Barnett himself said, and what the history of this ministry tells us about why this separation was probably a long time coming. Because this isn't just a story about one pastor leaving a church. It's a story about two ministries that were always trying to serve two masters, and the moment the denomination finally said, pick one. If you're not familiar with Matthew Barnett or Angelus Temple, let me give you the context, because it matters enormously for understanding this story. Angelus Temple is not just any church. Founded in 1923 by Pentecostal evangelist Amy Semple McPherson, it is widely considered the first megachurch in American history. It's the birthplace of the Foursquare Church denomination. It sits on a historic campus in Los Angeles with Sunday attendance of around 8,200 people. This is hallowed Pentecostal ground. Matthew Barnett arrived in 1994, not initially at Angelus Temple, but in Los Angeles, where he and his father, Tommy Barnett, founded the Dream Center. The Dream Center started as a street ministry to the homeless and vulnerable, originally affiliated with the Assemblies of God. It was based out of the old Queen of Angels Hospital in the Echo Park neighborhood, a massive facility that became a live-in community for people in recovery, trafficking survivors, and the unhoused. In 2001, Barnett was invited to become the senior pastor of Angelus Temple. He accepted, but he brought the Dream Center with him, transitioning it into a partnering ministry under the Foursquare umbrella. So from day one, Matthew Barnett was running two things at once: leading a historic Pentecostal congregation with thousands of members and operating a sprawling social services ministry that functioned almost like its own institution. For 25 years, that arrangement held until it didn't. On September 21st of last year, the Foursquare president Randy Remington made a public announcement.
Sat down with your pastors, Matthew and Caroline, and we just began a conversation with them about just the realities of what 3 decades of ministry can do to a soul, can do to a heart, the impact of it, and just began to have conversations with them about taking a step back. And sometimes you have to step back to go forward. And sometimes you need a break. So what we did is we sat down with pastors Matthew and Caroline, and we just said, hey, 30 years of leading 2 significant ministries has an effect. It could be draining, it could be challenging. So the sabbatical for pastors Matthew and Caroline, and the reality of a sabbatical is it's an intentional time away to focus on areas of rest and well-being and health. And so we're walking with them in that. But we're thinking it'll probably be around 4 to 6 months as the window of time that would take.
Matthew and Caroline Barnett had been asked to step away for a season. Now, that phrasing, asked to step away, is worth noting. This wasn't framed as the Barnetts choosing to take a break. They were asked. Remington described it as a sabbatical focused on rest and well-being and health, and said the denomination was walking with them in that. He expected it to last 4 to 6 months. The phrase walking with them is doing a lot of work in that sentence. In church leadership contexts, when a senior pastor at a major institution is asked to step away, and the denomination says they're walking alongside them, that is usually a managed transition, not a vacation. Whether there were specific concerns behind that ask, about the ministry, about finances, about leadership, we don't have full visibility into. What we do know is what happened next. On February 15th of this year, during a Sunday service, Western District Supervisor Mark Slomka made it official. Brad and Stella Reed, who had been serving as interim pastors, were announced as the new executive pastors of Angelus Temple. Slomka told the congregation, "Your next pastors love you, and they have a wonderful plan for your life." He talked about reviewing their 2-year vision for the church. The installation was framed as a forward-looking moment. New leadership, new direction.
Days ago, our president, Randy Remington, and I were with you, and we said that we believed, and it was our intention to be able to announce with you who we were going to appoint as your next pastors. And so over the last weeks, I've had a chance to meet with you as a congregation on a couple of occasions. I've met with staff. I've had some phone conversations. And Thursday morning, I met with our Foursquare Board of Directors, and it's my joy and privilege. It really is a privilege for me to be able to share with you that next Sunday we will be installing Pastors Brad and Stella Reed as your pastors. Pastors Stella and Brad over the last weeks, and your next pastors love you, and they have a wonderful plan for your life. I've reviewed one of the things we do in our district is we don't appoint pastors who can't express vision. And we know it's in wet cement, but I have reviewed their 2-year vision for Angelus Temple, and God loves you, has a wonderful plan for your life. As they step into this role as your pastors, they have pastored well, but now the charge on them, which we'll be talking a little bit about next week, is to lead well.
Matthew and Caroline Barnett then released a video acknowledging the departure. And in that video, Matthew Barnett said something that cuts to the heart of this whole story. And he said, and I'm paraphrasing closely here, that Foursquare had wanted Angelus Temple to have its own distinct identity, and that the decision came down to a choice: pastor Angelus Temple, a Foursquare church, or choose the Dream Center. He chose the Dream Center.
Beautiful match and treated so warmly and kindly. It became just an incredible partnership for 25 years. My time at Angelus Temple and working with the Dream Center together will be years I'll never forget. I realized that I was always trying to carry that equal value between both of them together, but the Dream Center just kept growing and growing and growing. And as time went on, the Foursquare denomination wanted their own identity in a church. A heartbeat of maybe that Angelus Temple needs to have its own distinct identity when the decision was to pastor Angelus Temple in a Foursquare church or choose the Dream Center. I would want to be there for another 25 years, but at the same time, I do know this about God. I've never had to force things. God has always just opened up doors, and Angelus Temple is a beautiful open door. I'm so thankful over the years of being there, and I'm thankful for the door I can't see yet.
I am so incredibly thankful to God for all of the miracles we've witnessed. Thank you for the 25 years here at Angelus Temple, and thank you Foursquare for giving us the privilege of being here for 25 years.
I think what God is saying is you are fully released to be the Dream Center with no reservations, with no explaining yourself, with no why you do this or that. We're just going to do it.
Now, read that charitably, and it's a pastor choosing the ministry closest to his heart after 25 years of trying to carry both. Read it carefully, and it raises a question. Why, after 25 years, did the denomination decide that the arrangement needed to end? We may not have full answers to that, but what's clear is that the Foursquare denomination acted with intention. This was a managed transition, not a spontaneous resignation. And after 25 years of Barnett straddling 2 major ministries, they wanted clarity. A church with its own heartbeat, its own identity, on its own direction. Angelus Temple now moves forward under Brad and Stella Reed with a 2-year vision that the denomination seems genuinely confident in. The oldest megachurch in America is entering a new chapter. And Matthew Barnett is still at the Dream Center, the ministry he co-founded 3 decades ago. The work he says is closest to his heart. The direct services that the organization provides, food banks, disaster relief, foster care intervention, recovery programs, represent real work for vulnerable people in Los Angeles. Whether he can focus that mission more sharply now, without the dual responsibility of leading a major congregation, remains to be seen. If you found this breakdown useful, see to hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach people who are trying to stay informed about what's happening inside the church. Subscribe if you're new, and drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd especially like to hear from anyone who's attended Angelus Temple or been connected with the Dream Center. See you in the next one.